Ah, hello there. So it has been quite a while since we have done anything on this world, and you're probably wondering, what's happened? Why is Puck over in the bed? Why am I back over here? What did we put in the rest of the Extinct Research Lab exhibits? Well, probably not that last one. But as to what happened to Puck and why he's back, well, that's a bit of a long story. And it starts where we left off over at the Extinct Research Lab. Hello, and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video with me, Elven Dragon. So today we are continuing on with our Extinct Research Lab area here, with our next extinct animal exhibit, the Jurassic. So I already know what I want to do for this, because during the Jurassic, we have the evolution of birds, and so because of that, we're going to need an aviary. And I also want to bring in a member of the last group of non-dinosaur extinct reptiles that we haven't covered, the pterosaurs. So I think for that, an aviary will be just perfect. Before we get into that, there are a lot of chores and random projects that have been building up because Puck's been gone, so he hasn't been around to take care of them. So let's get our banner in and let's go check out our little box. So I don't know if I've shown this off in a video before, but I've definitely pulled it out on stream. But we have this purple box here, which is our project box. Inside we have a bunch of different books and such for each of our various areas. So for example, if we take out our main base book, we have all of our little bits and pieces that we have to work on, like the stairs to the wine cellar that we've been putting off for a year and a half now, I think. Now some of these are basically complete, like the Biosphere Tower, we just gotta mess around with the vines for and clean up. But this is how I've decided to keep track of all of my projects so far. Now if I add any more areas, I'm going to need to either make a completed project box or make a whole nother project box. But we've got everything here. We've got the redstone pit, our main base, the Biosphere Tower, which is just about done, the ruined village, which we basically just have to clean up, our fossil restoration lab here, which if we go through here, got a couple things to finish up for each of our exhibits. I haven't updated this one in a while. You can see the animals that we've added, and this one needs to be taken off the spoiler text, which apparently I haven't done anything for this one. We have the rest of our exhibits here in spoilers, and apparently nothing on those 2 pages. Also got Stardust Valley, which we basically have a couple little bits. Fairy Forest, which we have not started, the Grits Farm, which is just some decoration, and the Nether Hub, which is some more decoration. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a few of these projects to work on. I'll probably work on a few of them on stream, but I'm going to get some of those done so that our total number is complete, and maybe we can actually move some of these books down to the bottom row, because as I have it set up now, top row here is for uncompleted areas, and the bottom row is for completed ones. So, yes, it's about time we get started. So now that that's out of the way, our next order of business is to get our aviary built. So I need a fairly flat space because I don't really want to do too much terraforming to this area. But I think somewhere around here should be pretty good. We're definitely going to have to clear out the trees because it's really hard to see what we're working on with those in the way. But what I'm thinking for this is we're going to do a 72 block diameter circle, and that should be big enough for all of our animals. So what we're going to do is we're going to do stairs at this level here. Actually, no, not quite there. Let's do here. And then on top of those, we're going to do upside down stairs. So we have this kind of ridge here, and that is going to go all the way around. And then on the ends, we will turn the blocks so that they have the fancy corners, so it looks like we just have one big indent here. Probably break this up later, but for now we'll just leave it as one big outcropping. Now on top of that section, we're gonna have stone bricks. I'm not quite sure how tall we're gonna make this, but we're just basically just gonna go straight up with these. And then on top of that, we'll have a 3-block section of polished andesite with chains and iron bars. And then we will have a big glass domed roof. I think this should look really nice, especially since I think I'm planning on using chains on the roof to kind of make it look like it's tied down or something. But I'm going to go get this circle built, and then I'll be right back. All right, so all of our walls are in. I ended up going for 24 blocks above our decorative polished andesite base, and it is a lot of stone bricks. I think I used up over a full shulker for this, but we are going to go through and detail this a bit later. For now, though, we need to finish off the top part of our walls, and that is going to start with a layer of polished andesite all along the top. Now on top of this, we are going to go up by 2 blocks, and we are going to cover that over. But on the big long stretches here, we're going to put some iron bars, and I need to figure out how I'm going to divide these end sections here. Don't worry about that for now. We've got plenty for these smaller sections here, but on these shorter sections where we have changes in layers, we're not going to do iron bars because they won't connect. We're instead going to do chains, because if they aren't going to connect anyway, it'll look really weird having the iron bars. So instead, I think the chains look quite a bit nicer. I think we'll do 3 units for the chains, and we will just continue this all the way around. We can somewhat see what we're looking at. I think that looks good with the big iron bars on the flat sides and then the chains on the shorter ones. So I'm going to fiddle with the pattern on the short side and try and figure out how I'm dividing up the big areas on the end, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so I've come down here to take a look at how that quarter looks, because this is the angle we're going to be viewing it at most of the time, and I don't think that's horrible. I wish the chains were a little thicker, but if we were to do the iron bars, it wouldn't be that much thicker for most of that. And I can see I already messed up on this, because I forgot to change one of the andesite dividers to 2 blocks thick. And there we go, all fixed. I think that is going to be what we're going to do. I still need to do the big walls, which that's going to require changing out these regular stone bricks for some of the fancy stone bricks. I think I'm going to get these sides in. I still need to figure out how I'm dividing up these, because once we figure that out, I can divide up the bottom sections, because I feel like 12 blocks is a little wide for the detailed part of the andesite. You can see it just looks a little too big. So I need to figure out where I'm dividing that up with solid blocks. And then the step after that is to get the roof on, and that is going to be a challenge. And I will explain why that is as soon as I finish getting the rest of this built up, at least on a basic level. Alright, so the top of the walls are done, and I like how it turned out. I think that the double wide sections are a little weird, but I like how it keeps everything kind of even, and how the iron bar sections all have 2 units in them, and the chains each have 3, and it works quite nicely. So the next thing that we have is the roof, and so I've made this little small scale diagram here to show the difficulty that we have. So the polished andesite box represents a section of our cylinder here, just cutting straight across through the middle, and the oak represents what would happen if we made a roof that was basically just a perfect hemisphere. So basically taking the curve from half of this and just rotating it so it goes up and over. And the jungle is representing something a little closer to what I think we're going to do, which is instead of doing a hemisphere, we're just going to do a section of the circle and go from there. I'm wondering if I take from about where the double line is on the single wide section and add 1 block to each piece, if that won't look good, but I will need to try it and make sure that it has enough blocks to cover the whole top. So I guess I'm going to get that figured out. I'm going to go grab some glass from the villagers because we are going to need a lot of it. And I'm going to get started on this roof. All right, so one massive dome later, and we have the roof just about done. Still need to put something over the top, which we should probably do soon because we've already got one of our animals in here. So what I'm thinking for on top of here is we are going to have these lines coming up and over, kind of like a kind of big chain that's supposed to make the roof here more secure, basically so that none of the flying animals here can fly out, or at least break through the ceiling. But we'll have these lines come from each of the corners, and they will all meet up in the middle. And instead of having a 2x2 square, what we'll do is we will turn it into a circle, just so it's a little more decorative. At least I think it is. And that will just stretch down to all corners, or at least the middle of the sides. This is a sphere, there's no corners. Or dome. Technically, there's no corners. I think there probably needs to be a few more chain lines going across the top of this. Probably a few more circles just to connect up the lower levels. But I'm going to have to figure that out. So I'm going to work on getting that in and deciding what I like for that. And then I will be right back. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. We just need to get lines going out from the sides there. I think so. This looks a bit more like a spider web instead of just a circle or 4 circles divided into 4. But beyond that, I think that this is pretty good for a roof. And I guess with that, it's about time that we get the rest of the animals in here. All right, so we now have all of our animals in, and I think that they look quite happy in their new environment. We've got 4 over here and 1 more in the lab. So I think we're going to get started talking about them. Ramphorhynchus was a genus of long-tailed pterosaurs from the Jurassic period. The largest species measures 1.26 meters or 4.1 feet long, with a 1.81 meter or 5.9 foot wide wingspan. Unlike other more contemporary pterodactyloid pterosaurs, it did not possess a crest on its head, but its long tail ended in a tail vein, which is signature of the species. Some of the best fossils of the species are found in Bavaria, Germany, where not only the bones are preserved, but also the impressions of the soft tissues. It had a mouth full of thin, sharp teeth, indicating that it probably ate fish, and several of its traits indicated that it may have foraged while swimming on top of the water, like many aquatic birds do today. Archaeopteryx was a small theropod dinosaur that lived during the late Jurassic. It is unknown whether or not it was capable of flight or could even glide, but its ability to do one of those actions is inferred from the highly developed state of its flight feathers. The main fossil was discovered just 2 years after Darwin published On the Origin of Species, and it is a candidate for being a transitional fossil between the non-avian dinosaurs and birds. It was initially considered to be the first bird, but the discovery of other small feathered dinosaurs that lived around the same time or slightly before it has obscured which are the actual ancestors of birds and what the relationship between them is. Birds weren't the only new group of animals to emerge during the Jurassic. The earliest fossils of crabs also appeared during this time. Eocarcinus represents a state between a lobster-like crustacean and the crabs that would emerge in the Middle Jurassic. Initially considered to be the oldest of what are called the true crabs, to separate them from the other 4 crab-like groups of crustaceans, it was later reclassified into the group that contains hermit crabs and king crabs, before being reclassified again as an early crab ancestor that had yet to undergo carcinization, or the process of turning into a crab. Brachiosaurus was a sauropod from the late Jurassic, estimated to be between 18 and 21 meters or 59 to 69 feet long. It is thought to browse high in the trees. It has a long neck, small skull, and large size that is typical of other sauropods, but unlike other members, its front limbs are longer than its hind limbs, which is what gives it its name. It is currently thought to have maintained a stable body temperature, or at least while it was growing, with the large air sacs in its chest possibly being used to help cool its body, in addition to their role in facilitating breathing, like they do in modern birds. Stegosaurus was an armored dinosaur from the late Jurassic, and one of the largest of all the stegosaurs. Easily recognized by the double row of plates along its back and its thagomizer or tail spikes, Stegosaurus is thought to have browsed on low-growing plants and shrubs, although it is unknown if it was capable of rearing onto its hind legs to reach higher foliage. The use of the thagomizer as a defensive weapon is not known. However, many of the fossils show trauma-related damage to the spikes, and there is an Allosaurus tail that has been found with a puncture wound that fits perfectly with a Stegosaurus tail spike. And that is all of the animals that we have for this area. I think that wraps up our Jurassic exhibit quite nicely, and I think we are ready to move on to the very last exhibit in this area. So with that, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye!